That's what that table's for.
I need to take your photo.
Needs a lot of blessing for the speaking against Wellington, but you know. Ngā mihi atu kia tātou.
Ngā mihi,
Thank you, Pat. Ngā mihi kia tātou hare mai rā ki tēnei ahi mo te hui ngā i o tātou. Tuatahi ki te mihi atu kia koe te kahika i o tātou, whakapiri mai i o tātou. Te koto katoa ngā kai kaunihira tātou mai nei i tēnei wā, mo tō kaupapa kōrero nei. Whakarai me ngā koto katoa ngā tumuaki o tātou te kaunihira o ahuriri, ngā mihi atu kia tātou katoa. Tākina mai ko te kawa nui, ko te kawa roa, ko te kawa whakaatiki, ko te kawa hiao mai a tiki o tarangi. E tupu ko te pū, ko te weo, ko te rito, ko te pūkinga, ko te wānanga, ko te taura, ko te tauhi rā. Tēnei rā te karanga nei o tātou nei, o tēnei ahi nei o tarangi mari o tātou. I pāna i ngā kōrero nei, i a te mea nui o tātou nei, o te iwi o tei, e mea nui o te ao. Mā kue ki atu, e tangata ki ta manakitia, e tangata ki te arohatia, e tangata ki te akinatia. Kia tātou nei ki runga te rangi mari, ki tātou kia tūturu whakamawa, kia tīna, haumi e hui e, tāiki. May we bless the rainfully shore.
Kia ora, morihu.
Yeah, kia ora.
Appropriately too, this is-
There you go. I'll declare our meeting open, and we have apologies from Deputy Mayor Brosnan. Do I have a mover and seconder? Thank you, Councillor Crown and Councillor Wright. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Are there any conflicts of interest? And no public forum today. There's no announcements from myself. Any minor matters not on the agenda? Any announcements by management?
No.
So we'll get straight into our agenda items. First up, we have the rating outturn 2019-2020, and our reporting officer is Chief Financial Officer Caroline Thompson.
Thank you. So each year, Council sets its rates to recover its expenditure in order to achieve a balanced budget.
Sorry, Caroline, could you just move the speaker a little bit closer?
Is that better?
Better.
Is that better?
Much better. Why don't you sit over there?
Any better?
Yes. Thank you.
So each year, Council sets its rates to recover its expenditure in order to achieve a balanced budget. This report reports on Council's rates position for the year. So I just wanted to make clear that the second agenda item on the annual report is reporting on Council's overall position, which includes other sources of funding in addition to rates. Just to clear up whether there was any confusion between a $2.3 million rating deficit versus the $2 million overall operating deficit. So as you know, this year we experienced exceptional circumstances with the onset of COVID-19. This led to a significant impact on Council's operations for 1920 and resulted in a net rates deficit of $2.3 million after allowing for budget carry-forwards. The deficit is mainly due to the closure of Council's business and tourism activities during the lockdown period, resulting in lost revenue of $2.3 million, and has meant that rates have been required to fund the shortfall of these activities. This report is requesting Council approve funding the rates deficit of $2.3 million from loans. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Councillor Bogue.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. Caroline, I appreciate that this report, that this covers to the end of the 30th of June. I just wondered, because we've sort of rebated or remitted or whatever some of the rates, if there are some overdue rates that might come in that will impact on the figures for this item.
All rates arrears are included in this position for year end. And for the year to date, we'll be including that figure in our first quarterly report that will be coming to you at the end of November.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the floor? Councillor Brown.
Do we have any details on the length of period the loan would be for, and therefore what our repayments would look like and the interest rate?
So if the loan was to be spread over 25 years, it would result in around about a 0.2% increase on rates. Obviously, any shorter time frame would increase the impact on rates.
And do we decide that, or does that get delegated to the finance team?
Usually delegated to the finance team, but happy to take any other recommendations.
And just further to that, so the interest rate currently being applied to the lending?
3%.
3%. And that may well be reviewed in light of our application to, yeah.
That's correct.
Great.
And along with our interest rate assumptions going into the long-term plan.
Okay. Any further questions? So the officer's recommendation...
Sorry, Your Worship, there is one.
Oh, sorry.
Just through the Mayor, just in addition to that, in the event that we do have any future surpluses, Council may also wish to apply any surpluses against the loan. Thank you.
Thank you. So the officer's recommendation before us is that Council note the lost revenue due to COVID-19 has impacted Council's rates position for 2019-20, resulting in a rates deficit of $2,341,603, and approve funding the net rating deficit from loans. So yes, a very unusual position to be in, and certainly no one could have anticipated COVID-19 and the impact that would have across not just here at Council, but the community across the board. And I think, casting my mind back, we were originally anticipating a deficit of around 3.5 million. So I'm thankful that we didn't end up quite that bad. So I would ask for a mover and seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Seconded by Councillor Mawson. Did you wish to speak to that, Councillor Taylor?
Thank you, Your Worship. No, just basically, I think most of the detail that we've had from the officer today, we have canvassed considerably over the past few months, and as you say, I think the outcome has been a little better than we expected, but I'm happy to put this forward and speak in favour of it.
Thank you. Councillor Mawson. Did anyone else wish to speak in support or against the recommendation before us? No. I will therefore put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. And moving on to our second agenda item, the adoption of the annual report 2019-2020. I'd also like to welcome our auditor, Karen Young, who is with us today to talk to this report as well, alongside Caroline.
Through the Mayor, the annual report reports on Council's overall position as opposed to the previous report, which reported on the rates-only position. So as you're aware, this year's been extremely difficult to navigate from a financial perspective, with the impact of COVID resulting in a significant reduction in revenue. Along with some legal costs, we are reporting the first ever operating deficit for Council of $2 million. Total revenue of $117 million was below budget by $8.5 million. The total expenditure of $119 million was above budget by $7 million, resulting in an overall operating deficit of $2 million. Can I just point out that in Resolution D, the figure should be corrected to $2 million. I think it's sitting at 2.2, it's a small correction. As required under Section 80 of the Local Government Act, the unbalanced budget issue has been carefully considered, with the most financially prudent option being to loan fund this shortfall due to the one-off nature. So Council will work towards balanced budget for the long-term plan 2021-31. It is important to note that Audit are satisfied with our financial statements and that they fairly reflect Council's activities for the year and its financial position. However, I would like to point out, and the audit opinion has been tabled today in front of you, that for 1920 the opinion does include an emphasis of matter and a qualification relating to 3 performance measures. The emphasis of matter paragraph explains the impact COVID has had on Council's financials, operations and activity groups. This is something that most councils throughout New Zealand will be facing. The qualified audit opinion relates to 3 performance measures whereby audit were unable to determine that the reporting on these measures was materially correct. The performance measures impacted related to the number of complaints recorded for 3 waters. Audit have concluded that Council's method of counting these complaints was likely to have been understated, and that and this is due in part to Council's call provider providing insufficient details to assess if a call should be classified as a complaint. The disclosure for these performance measures are on pages 105, 111 and 116 of the annual report. Please note that the estimate numbers include both verified and estimated, so it's the worst case scenario. The estimate was based on the total number of calls that were not able to be verified, divided by the total water-related calls, which gave a percentage ratio of 29.54%, which audit considered a material variation. Officers will work with the call provider to review the systems and processes to ensure all call data is accurately recorded and compliant with the DA reporting requirements going forward. Audit has also advised that it is likely there will be a number of other councils receiving a qualified audit opinion for the same matter. And so I'd just like to, I can take any questions, otherwise I've got our Audit Director here, Karen Young, who could provide some more detail on the audit opinion for you.
Councillor McGrath.
Yes, I'm just after a little bit more detail with these performance measures that we haven't quite got. Is, bearing in mind it's gone through audit, are we likely as a council to see a report back at some stage to say that we've rectified this or we've made changes so it doesn't happen again?
Through the Mayor, in our quarterly reports, we report on these performance measures every quarter. So we will be undertaking a deep dive into those numbers for the first quarter to ensure that we've got the numbers and the data integrity there.
Thank you.
Councillor Crown.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Just a question probably for Karen. Kia ora, Karen. So a number of other councils are receiving a similar comment through their audit process. How long have these particular standards been in place for?
The DIA mandatory measures.
Sorry, can I correct you?
The DIA mandatory measures have been in place since 2013.
Right. And has this year seen a particular increase in this type of comment for councils, or is it pretty much on par, or how does it look across the country?
Last year we identified an issue with these customer complaints measures, and this year we took a closer look across councils. Napier City Council has a after-hour service call provider which it uses, but the issue is also with Napier City's systems themselves, which have the similar problems to which we've identified with the after-hours call provider.
Mm-hmm. So based on, I suppose, being alerted last year, how many councils this year across New Zealand are receiving a similar comment?
So Napier City Council's audit opinion and audit has been completed ahead of some of the other councils. So some of the other councils are in the process of being audited.
Are you able to give us a number?
There's currently about 24 councils being audited by Audit New Zealand. which also use this after-hours call provider. However, we are looking at the matter across all councils.
Great. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Just a question, Madam Mayor. Are we asking questions just about the audit, or are we into the annual plan?
You can ask questions on either.
Okay. I've just some questions and comments on the annual plan. On page 45, I can find it. I just wondered, is the value of the council housing in there somewhere or somewhere else? Please, if I could ask you through you, Madam Mayor. Is the value in there?
Through the Mayor, yes, it will be. It'll be wrapped up in land and buildings.
Oh, okay.
I can provide you with that breakdown if you'd like.
Oh, that would be helpful. Thank you. With the resident satisfaction survey results on page 91, I just wanted to say how positive so many of them were. They were definitely a rise in what we'd experienced in previous years. And I also appreciate that this report is like 4 months old, so who knows, these might have gone up or down. But I just wanted to say that there were some pluses on that table. The public information, footpaths, water supply, although still low, waste minimisation, litter graffiti, animal control, sports fields and gardens, which is a great positive feedback for our staff, really. But something that jumped out at me, of course, was parking. And it has been a worry, I guess, for some time. And I mean, it is a bit of a reminder to us that parking is an issue, parking in the city. I've been told by a few of the constituents that I know that wondering what we're going to do about it. But I just wondered if there was somebody on staff who could just mention what is happening with the parking in the city, and do we have a plan to get a better public support for that aspect of our services?
Through the Mayor. As you're aware, there is a parking strategy that has been adopted by the council that looks at, I guess, trying to separate out the short-term parking from the long-term parking. As part of that, the council has also procured some key land purchases to develop some car parking, particularly for the longer term. So we're working through that at the moment, and hopefully keep building the parking asset to accommodate the needs.
Thank you. If I could, just a couple of other things through you, Madam Mayor. It was really pleasing to be reminded on page 95 that we had the highest voter turnout in the local body elections of any local territorial authority, I understand, which was over 50%. It didn't exactly specify, but I thought that was fantastic. I also have a question. It was mentioned somewhere in the report that we have 6 cemeteries and public cemeteries, and I just was trying to figure out where those are. I'll put my name down at one of them.
You got a pre-book date?
So if somebody could help me with that, please.
Shall we perhaps put that as an action to feedback?
Okay. And another request, which will probably require further research, is I just wondered, with our income, how much of it came from any gaming trusts? So if we could also be told about that. And that's it. Thank you.
I believe we received that information recently. It was about $95,000.
I think that was for 2018-19.
Oh, okay, that was the previous year, right.
Just noting through the Mayor, on of the actual report itself, there is a note to the account, subsidies and grants, and that's broken down between the land transport and other grants, and in government grants, so we had 6.149, but we can provide council with a more detailed breakdown of that.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any further questions from around the table? No. we do have a rather lengthy officer's recommendation. I won't read it out in full, but essentially, we are here today to adopt our annual report 2019-2020, and we have been through our audit process and have before us today the audit opinion and independent auditor's report as well. So I am going to move the officer's recommendation from the chair and would ask for a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Tapani.
So we're just noting that we've got the updated one for we're going to put up on the screen.
Okay.
So that's
C and yeah.
And then we'll just make sure about the section 80 with the lines. So we'll just
So that's yeah. Sorry, I thought the paper copy and no one else has a paper copy, do they? We do have a couple of slight amendments to the officer's recommendation, which will just be popping up on the screen. And that is, please note that there is a new C. Note, as required under Section 80 of the Local Government Act 2002, Council considers that the most financially prudent option is to fund Council's 2019-2020 net operating deficit of $2 million from loans. And the new D is actually, there's a change there from operating deficit of 2.2 million to 2 million. Councillor Brown, you look like you have a question.
Well spotted. Wasn't subtle. Just for clarification, that 2 million, is that on top of the 2.3 that we've just discussed, or a part of? Yeah.
Through the Mayor, a part of.
Okay, thank you.
That's what I was trying to explain before. The rates, we get a rates result. We just look at the rates only funding in council, and that then gets wrapped up into our overall result, which ended up being 2 million deficit.
Okay.
Mr. Tinner.
Just to confirm, we do have 6 cemeteries. Western Hills, Park Island, Wharangi, Territorial, Napier and Eastdale.
Yeah.
Where you book?
Thank you for that.
Don't get into Territorial.
So, as already said, I will move the recommendation from the chair, and Councillor Tapani, I saw, had put his hand up to second.
Happy to endorse those changes, Your Worship.
Thank you. So I would just like to take a moment to say I'm very pleased to support the recommendation to adopt our annual report for 2019-2020, and I would like to extend a thank you to all of the staff that have been involved in pulling this together. I know that it is a significant amount of work, and also thank our auditor Karen Young for all her work on this as well, and her team. So this report reflects the success and challenges we have faced in achieving the Year 2 objectives of our long-term plan 2018-2028. As a council, we are always striving to balance the community expectations and priorities with the increasing pressure on services and infrastructure, along with the need for ongoing financial prudence. The difficulties of operating through the COVID-19 pandemic, the subsequent national state of emergency and alert levels have been demanding. The pandemic has had a significant impact on Council's tourism activities and revenue streams, and has contributed to the overall deficit of $2 million. The deficit means Council has not met the balanced budget benchmark for the year. We are closely monitoring the pandemic's impacts, and the long-term plan we're currently working on for 2021 to 2031 is being developed with this in mind. Work continued during the year to improve our drinking water network as part of the wider program to address our water issues, and we will continue to give this work priority. Public consultation on the draft Stormwater Bylaw was undertaken late in 2019, and after hearing public feedback, Council adopted the final version, which came into effect in February of this year. The 2020 Stormwater Bylaw aims to improve stormwater quality and better protect the city's urban waterways. Te Whanganui o Rutu, the Ahuriri Estuary and the general coastal environment. In January 2019, Central Government announced funding to enable us to progress the region-wide Three Waters Review. The project aligns with the region's strategic priority for the 2019-2022 triennium, water safety, security and planning, agreed by the Hawke's Bay Leaders Forum in November 2019. This regional review has now been superseded by the proposed national reform. In the latter part of the financial year, Council spent some time considering a raft of key performance indicators for the Chief Executive, which describe the intended outcomes that Council is seeking from the organisation. It is expected these will be published in future annual plans and then reported on in the subsequent annual report. Council successfully submitted 2 remits at this year's Local Government New Zealand annual meeting: the building defects claims to introduce a cap on the liability of councils in relation to building defect claims, whilst joint and several liability applies, passed with 93% support of the sector. The other, about social housing and brought jointly with Tauranga and Wellington City Councils, called for an urgent focus on the development and implementation of a broader range of financing tools for social housing provision. The funding would support the operation, upgrade and growth of council housing portfolios and access to income-related rents for eligible tenants. This remit passed with 96% support. Council also received good community feedback on the positive ageing strategy adopted earlier this year, covering the years 2020 to 2024. It considers the ageing population and the impact this will have on Napier. Around 25,000 black recycling crates were delivered to Napier residents in October 2019, and the new weekly collection service beginning the following month. It has brought more opportunities for our community to divert waste from the Maraenuri landfill. And in March, as part of our district plan review, the first discussion documents on different aspects of our district plan went live on our website. These outline potential plans for greenfield residential developments, preserving our cultural heritage, promoting city living, to name just a few. Other highlights were the awards we won during the year. The Marine Parade waterfront upgrade was recognised at a national level with an award of excellence at the Resene New Zealand Institute of Landscape Architecture Awards, while the MTG Hawke's Bay exhibition George Nuku Bottled Ocean 2118 won a Gold Spatial Design Award in the Exhibitions and Temporary Structures category of the 2019 Designers Institute of New Zealand Best Awards. Napier City Council is the first local authority in the country to make a disability strategy available in Easy Read, a way of presenting information to make it easier for people with learning disabilities to understand. As a result, we won the People's first annual Make It Easy Award. We look forward to working alongside our community and delivering many more successful outcomes over the coming year. Thank you. Councillor Tapani, did you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Your Worship. Only do, as I sat and listened to your account of everything we've achieved in the last 12 months, particularly I remain impressed by the efforts of our staff. But also, the only thing I wish to add to that is that the approach taken by this council and our staff over the last 12 months was to mitigate some of the impacts of some significant change happening within Napier, as well as the ongoing impacts of COVID-19. And the message I would send on top of those wonderful achievements to our community was that this council took a conservative long-term approach to the unknown challenges facing us, hoping to level out those impacts. And that resulted in the annual report we see before us now. And I look forward to seeing how we address the coming challenges as they become known to us. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Well done, team.
Did anyone else wish to speak to the motion? I will therefore put that we adopt the annual report 2019-2020. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you very much, everybody. And before I do move for us to go into public excluded, I would just like to take the opportunity to thank Councillor McGrath for arranging for us to have the Ranfurly Shield with us here today for our extraordinary council meeting. I think most of us had taken the opportunity to have our photo taken with it. And of course to wish the Hawke's Bay rugby team all the very best for their upcoming challenge this Sunday, which if they manage to retain it, we will of course then have the shield until next season. So I'm sure many of you are intending to head along for the game on Sunday. It'll be a goodie. So thank you, Councillor McGrath, much appreciated. Okay, so if I could now have a mover and seconder to thank you, Councillor Mawson, seconded by Councillor Crystal, and we'll just take a short break and then we will reopen into public excluded. Thank you, Caroline and Karen.